All right. What's up, everyone? This is Isaac with Hunger Smash Fitness coming to you once again with my fantastic co-host, John, over at My Block Strongest Man. And today we have the Phenom who broke a bunch of records at World's Strongest Man and had an amazing first time, Mitch Hooper. So, Mitch, how have you been since Worlds?
It's been good. Yeah, I've been just getting back into life, really. And I think after you get so much attention for something and so many positive interactions around you, it quickly becomes the norm after only 6 days or so. And there's a period of time of sort of coming down off of that. I think no matter how well you do or how poorly you do, there's sort of the post-comp period where you're, just kind of sitting on what the next thing is. And I've had that after football games. I've had that after big tournaments of certain types. So nothing I'm not used to.
Yeah, and we can either segue into it now or later, but the next big thing for you is your clinic. I'm really eager to hear about that. So at some point, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, first, let's talk about Worlds a little bit and just what was your without spilling too much. I know World's Strongest Man doesn't want you to spill all the beans before they put it on TV, but what was your favorite event? What was your least favorite event of the heats and the finals? How about?
Favorite events of the heats, it had to have been the loading medley. And I think we're allowed to talk about all the events because all the results are posted online.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. Should be.
Yeah. So I obviously won the loading medley, and to jump into your first Worlds, to have the demeanor and the mental energy that I was able to have and keep it all together and perform really well in the first event. That was fantastic. So it's going to be hard to ever beat that feeling, really.
Yeah.
Then in the finals, I like the power stairs as an event. I sort of messed them up, but I think that probably was a favorite. Definitely cool winning the medley there as well.
Yeah.
But, I like to remove myself from liking stuff because I win it, and I think the power stairs are a lot of fun.
Nice. Were you able to train much for the power stairs beforehand? I don't remember if you had included much of that in.
No, I didn't. And that's sort of how I stuffed it because I was in the lead up to the 8th of 9. And I put it too close to the stair in front of me. And I didn't know what was going on because every other time I just happened to put it on the edge. So I actually got pretty lucky, to be honest. I could have messed it up on the first step.
Oh, man.
And I just swung it too far when I did the 7th step, and then I didn't know how to correct that. So just inexperienced mistake, which is really that was the theme of the finals, and you can't beat yourself up too much over not being good at things you hadn't done before.
Was the format of power stairs kind of head-to-head like they did at Europe's?
Yeah, so that's why I say I should have won, because at that stage I was ahead of Max by maybe by only a second or so, but I was ticking along really well, and then just hit the roadblock on the 7th step and didn't get past it.
Yeah, and he's phenomenal with power stairs. So to be close to him is saying a lot.
Yeah, and like I said, through 7 stairs, I think I was in the lead. We'll see when the footage comes out, but but it's about finishing the event, I suppose. It's not who's fastest on the 7th step.
Fair enough. I have to say, though, seeing the results of the Deadlift Ladder, what was going on with that? Because I mean, that was insanely fast.
Yeah, I was just doing what I could do. Really, I knew doing what I knew I could do, and I did the first 4 bars without straps. On the 4th bar, on the 360, every time you grab a bar, you lose a bit of chalk.
Yeah.
So the 360 over under, when I got the down call from Maggie, I was less than half a second away from dropping it. I felt it. I felt it start to slide out of that hand. Oh, geez, thank God. So you got to have those little things go right for you, and I was fortunate enough to have that happen in the heats.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, you've talked about your confidence with your deadlift and everything in our previous interview and on your Instagram and all that. You definitely showed up, and you definitely demonstrated that it's not all talk. You actually have something to back it up.
Yeah. Well, it showed itself in 2 ways, though, right? It showed itself that I was very good on a deadlift bar under standard conditions, and it showed that I was inexperienced with a car deadlift for reps, which I didn't. I had my feet as I was deadlifting a normal bar, and I didn't really consider that it would pendulum away. So I got 12, winner got 15, but in looking back at it, um, I had a lot of people coming up to me saying, I have no idea how you grinded through 12 doing it the way you did it. And afterwards, I had to sit on a chair for about 10 minutes because my hamstrings were cramping so bad, which never happens to me. And I felt bad because I was in a lot of pain, but I knew that everything was fine. But I'm sitting there in pain, and my poor family, I can't really tell them that I'm okay because I'm just there grimacing.
Yeah. So, because you've done a car deadlift once before, you said, or was that your first time?
First time.
That was your first time when you got 12 reps on it?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, the interesting thing there too is that car deadlifts are typically neutral grip, but this one was a bar across, like more of a traditional bar setup.
Yeah, it was really odd. It was maybe 70% thickness compared to a standard barbell. It was really tiny.
It looked tiny in the photos that I saw.
Yeah. It didn't really affect anything, just interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, 3 reps away from Novikov, who, let's face it, was a possessed machine, as far as I can tell on the few photos and comments I saw. Like, it just seemed like he had some special kind of passion all throughout World's Strongest Man, but especially on that event.
Yeah. Look, to be in the top territory with any of those guys on any events is pretty cool.
And then car walk, Isaac, you're muted. Car walk, you told everybody that yoke was your thing. And I think I saw, maybe it was on the Giants Live podcast where you talked about kind of holding back a little bit on car walk to make sure you didn't hit the tires. You want to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, it was the same thing on the Deadlift Ladder, really. I sort of knew I was in the last pair, and Mark Felix was the best time to that stage, and I was beside Bobby. And I knew that I had to beat Mark, and I knew that Mark wasn't moving particularly fast compared to how I normally use a yoke. So the car actually threw me off a lot more than I thought it would. If I had to go flat out, I could have gone faster, but it would also risk more than it would have been worth.
Interesting. Yeah, but you were still in, what, the 11s?
Yeah, I came third, 0.01 seconds behind Rob Kearney, if you were to pool everyone together. And then Evan Singleton, who obviously something was going on with him. He was in first.
That's right. I was just looking up the results now. Yeah, that was the one that Evan got. Where was it? So he got 9.86 seconds, which is mind-boggling. But I mean, still 11.6 seconds for you is a really good time, especially when, I mean, it's 2 seconds faster than anyone else in your heat. And honestly, it's, closer to 8 seconds faster than most of the guys, it looks like.
Yeah, if you consider that weight for World's Strongest Man, I think experience on the car would have helped guys a lot on that one, because that weight is not heavy. It was just how the car was loaded and how it felt. And also, we were on a traditional street, which naturally drains off the side. So it's not like we were in a perfect indoor flat stadium doing it. We were on just gravel, and thankfully I was on the flatter side, and Bobby, it's probably a 2-degree angle down or so.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Isaac.
Oh, no, go ahead. You start first.
Yeah, I was going to say, so kind of backtracking a little bit, I just want to understand more about the whole experience. How was traveling there? I don't know how far, like where you are in Canada and how far that travel was. How was the travel for you?
Travel was okay. I went Toronto to Denver to Sacramento. I was delayed a little bit in Denver, got into Sacramento maybe around midnight. But then the first 3 days that we were there were media days. But we only really have a couple hours of obligations throughout the entirety of the 3 days. So I was more looking for stuff to do than anything.
Awesome. And how was the heat? Did that affect you at all?
No, because our athlete tent was so cold. I needed to get warm more than I needed to get cold throughout the week. That tent was seriously 8 degrees, 9 degrees.
Yeah, we heard that they really went all out to make the tent super comfortable for you guys.
Which is awesome, right? Because something like that impacts performance so much if they don't. And for the knocks I have on the logistics of World's Strongest Man, the communication, every single person who works there was phenomenal, was so accommodating, was really kind, was really helpful. So I think I'll put the blame on it being a large corporation and has the accompanying efficiencies of a large corporation in certain ways.
And I wanted to say, so the 8 degrees comment, that is in Celsius, right? Not in Fahrenheit for all
Yeah, that's right. In Celsius, yeah.
That would really be cold.
It was like high 40s for the Americans.
Yeah, something like that. Because I was going to say, because I think that comes from last year where it was so hot outside, and then the tent, it sounds like they didn't have it nearly as cold as most of the people wanted it to properly cool off after the event. So they might have overcompensated a little bit on the other side this year.
Well, nothing stopped the guys because in the finals the temperature was very comfortable. Nothing stopped certain guys from still having a fan on them in what probably was in the 60s, and they still had a fan following around, portable fan.
I guess if you're 400 some pounds, everything makes you sweat. So
yeah, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
So how's your training going in preparation for Giants now? Because I mean, I saw your name on the list and everything. I mean, with what you've been saying, what you've shown, I think 505 is easily attainable for you. How are you feeling about it?
About the World Deadlift Championship, I'm feeling good. Yeah. It's really tough because you said you were speaking to someone in your family last time we spoke that, I hadn't pulled over 400 in quite a while. And getting into the suit, there's two elements, right? There's peaking for a 1 rep max and there's peaking in the suit. And I've got myself into the suit a few times, and it takes some serious practice to start using that effectively. It's a different pull than when you do it raw, and it's a different pull than when you're doing it for reps. So when you're doing it for reps in the suit, you can't have the shoulder straps tight or else your head feels like it's going to pop off, and that's what stops you, not your strength. Where when it's a 1 rep max, you crank that tight, you deal with it, and you get on with it. So if you see, I put out a YouTube video where I deadlifted 400 2 weeks ago. Then I deadlifted 415 last week, and that moved better than 400. And then my suit had stretched out quite a bit. So I put that in the wash, and then I pulled 400 a couple days ago again. And it's getting to a better spot. So you can sort of tell how used to the deadlift suit someone is by their torso angle. And if you can get your torso angle to around 45 degrees, that's usually when you're starting. And you'll see for myself, the more I pitch forward, the harder it is when I get to my knee. And you'll see if you watch the 400 video that I posted a couple of days ago, my first movement is still my shoulders coming forward, and then the bar lifts off. So to be patient and to hold back makes that whole movement much more snappy. I'm also battling this ankle, which is now only limiting me on push pressing. So now I can deadlift properly with it. So that's on the mend as well.
That's good to know. Yeah, and honestly, I've never used a suit before, so whatever you have to tell me is news to me, I guess.
It's horrible. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and a large portion of me wishes that we could just do this without a suit. We could just do it raw, but records are records.
Yeah, and your PR raw is what, 425?
I did a 420. Yeah, I did that by accident though. I did it. It was a misloaded bar in a charity comp. It was supposed to be 400. Yeah, there's not much because anytime you do a max deadlift, for the most part, it's going to be in a suit. So as a strongman, I don't see a whole lot of purpose in terms of injury risk to max your deadlift without a suit on, particularly for me when everything we do for reps or in a medley will be fairly easily achievable for me.
Because what's the most that you've pulled in a suit though? Because I thought you pulled a 475 or something like that in a suit before.
Yeah, 475.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to say that I'm getting, I'm certainly not getting 55 kilos out of a suit, but you know, I don't really push the raw deadlift the same.
Well, I think it's one of those things too, where I mean, like you said, why risk the injury for pushing that 1 rep max if it's not for a record or something like that? Like I get that.
Yeah.
But you're doing the entire Giants show, right?
Yeah. And before that one, I'm also doing the Strongman Classic.
Oh, nice. Which one are you more excited for?
The deadlift. Obviously, like that's just there's so much energy around it. It's not even that I'm most excited for it. I'm sort of the excitement that everyone else has for it is just so contagious.
John, you want to ask a question? You look like you have something on your mind.
No, I was looking at when the Strongman Classic is. It looks like it's coming up very soon. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, a few weeks.
Yeah, July 9th.
July 9th. Yeah, that's an interesting event because it's 2 grip events in that one: a farmers for distance and a Hercules hold. Then we have dumbbell medley, 80 to 120 kilos. Then we have axle deadlift at 360 for reps. Then we have stones. But I've just brought on Laws as a coach, so he's helping me a lot. Yeah, he's helping me a lot with we'll call it strongman logistics.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm actually looking at that lineup, and in addition to yourself, there's a lot of exciting, like Ken McClellan's in there. That's awesome.
I don't know anything about him.
The thing that most people think about Ken is that at some point or other he should have deserved to make it to Worlds and hasn't. Like that's the big thing. He was an equipment tester one year and apparently was moving around farmers or some sort of weights that the competitors couldn't move.
Right.
Yeah. Ken's pretty legendary.
Well, because the story wasn't it 400 something pound farmers handles for each hand. And most of the guys couldn't finish 1 lap. And I guess he walked up and walked it the entire route, no problem, basically. So,
yeah, he finished second to Big Z at Masters OSG last year.
Yeah.
If he's got a strong grip, that'll be a funny comp with himself, Paul Smith, who's got a great grip, and Mark Felix.
Yeah, for sure.
Hercules will be fun to watch. I'll say that much. I think all of them good, depending on the implement. I know, but yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, Paul Smith just won UKs, right? And I see Spencer Rems in there too. He also qualified through OSG last year. So
yeah, and Spencer's really solid as well. I think highly of him.
Yeah, we've had him on the show before. Great guy too. Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. Strongman Classic was, ironically, you brought up Big Laz. That was his 1 day only return last year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of hype around that. A lot of people love Big Laz, so a lot of hype around that show last year.
Yeah, of course.
With the axle deadlift, so they're allowing straps with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 360, so I don't think much would get done without them.
Well, I was gonna say if they were doing like an over/under grip, they might. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be tough.
Yeah.
Do you typically train axle with straps or without?
Yeah. Well, it depends. It's a different purpose, right?
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with axle deadlifts with straps on. I'll use it as an accessory for grip training. So I know my way around an axle, and that'll be a good test to see how I stand up in terms of deadlift for reps, because I think it went pretty well at Worlds. But now we take that sort of little bit of technique element away from it and see how I go.
Yeah, because a couple of those guys are pretty good deadlifters as well. So, like Alexi now is fairly decent. And for reps, though, I don't remember. Is Evan a good reps guy? John, do you remember how he did?
I know he was one of the 1,000-pound lifters last year, but that was for Max.
Yeah, I don't remember how he's done the reps one recently.
you got to assume he's good enough. I mean, he's got that psychological element where he won't stop, and that's hard to beat. Always hard to beat. That's it. It's a really strong lineup, really. Like I could, I could see that going a lot of different ways, especially with the random events. It's really not a stock standard type giants.
I mean, it's pretty exciting that you can consider yourself among this pretty fantastic lineup. I mean, honestly, all the guys that are going this year are really solid guys. So I think it'll be a great show either way.
Yeah. There's, I think you could probably pick out the likely top 3 and bottom 3. In between is pretty, there'd be a lot of competition there.
Are you planning on doing Canada's Strongest this year as well?
Yeah. I also, to be properly announced, I'm also going to the Shaw Classic.
Nice. You got a busy year.
Yeah. I've got 3.5 weeks to Strongman Classic, 7.5 weeks until Deadlift, 8.5 weeks until Shaw, 10.5 weeks until Canada's Strongest.
How do you typically do in high altitude like Colorado?
I've never competed, never done it. I mean, look, it's going to be hell on my body, and I know that. And I know that it's not something that I could do year after year. But if the knock on me and the biggest challenge I have to overcome is inexperience, I can't just wish my way to be experienced. Like you just got to get in there, get your feet wet. And, if I got my ass handed to me once or twice, and then so be it, kick on and be stronger next time.
Absolutely. What was your biggest surprise at Worlds?
Probably how nice everyone was, to be honest. Like there's not one person that I could say, I wouldn't really want to spend time around them. It's just such a brotherhood, and pretty special group of people to be a part of.
Yeah, I would say you had a very good rapport in that interview with Colin and Darren as well. That went very well. I know Darren was saying because I think you were talking about some of the events that you thought you might do better at, and he said, if you were making these claims ahead of time, I would have told you to take a hike. But now you've proven it.
Yeah, I think that was actually talking about recovery. He wouldn't have believed me in terms of recovery. But yeah, I got along really, really well with Colin and Darren, which are helpful guys to get along well with. But I also wouldn't have any issue with not getting along with a promoter and not going to those comps, because for me it's very much a values first thing. And if Wuss told me, I'd say no thank you, really, with no concern or hesitation.
Based on the controversy that arose, without getting into specifics? Yeah, fair enough.
So which of the upcoming events are you most excited for? Deadlift. I mean, we all know that you love deadlifting, but
other than the deadlift?
Yeah. So what's that?
I actually don't love deadlifting. I'm fairly good at it. I find it to be a uncomfortable experience getting down in that suit, and so much hassle, and it takes so much out of you. But just the energy around that is really hard to beat. Same thing. Like if there was, let's think, if people got really excited about a yoke world record, it'd be just as contagious, and I'd get just as around that. And the fans really fuel that one for me. I don't think that's top down. I think that's bottom up. But there's something about Strongman Classic that's pretty interesting in terms of the venue. I'm also excited to go out and back up World's Strongest Man and put out a good performance there. There's something about the Shaw Classic that intrigues me. I don't really think much about the World Deadlift Championship and Giants Live Open after the deadlift. I think the odds that I continue on to do the whole show are fair at best. If you put in that type of effort and injury and fatigue, we all know that neural fatigue where it's just, you just don't care anymore. And if you don't care and you're trying to move heavy weights, you're going to hurt yourself. And it's actually funny. I don't know if I vocalized it that way before, but for me, that's neural fatigue. You know, the last day of finals of World's Strongest Man, going up to the power stairs, I was speaking to Max. I'm like, dude, I'm cooked. I'm in my head. I don't care anymore. He's like, yep, I'm ready to go home. This has been a lot. So learning to fight that, learning to battle that will be an important lesson over time. But yeah, we'll see if I even do the rest of that show, if I'm in condition to do the rest of that show. I hope so. I think what a legendary performance that would be, to win the deadlift and win the show. But can't get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. So one more question about Worlds. What was your favorite Wacky event? Flintstone lift or wrecking ball hold?
Oh, I didn't get an opportunity to do the wrecking ball hold, unfortunately.
Right.
I was far enough ahead at that stage. I didn't even have to go up there, but I figured I'd go up for a picture or something. Actually, I went up and Tom's group was before me, and he held it for 4 seconds. So I held it for 5 seconds just to beat Tom. But yeah, something's cool about the Flintstone lift, but I don't like the format of last man standing. I think it's really hard on the athletes. I think it's too hard on the athletes. I don't think it's particularly watchable. I don't really think it works well for anyone. So I'd have to go with the wrecking ball hold, but I think they could have done way better, like creating a setup that wasn't just a forklift and a harness. I think you could have had a big platform and made a bit more of a show about it. But maybe next time. I know I couldn't build it, so.
Officially, you're down to 6.4 seconds.
Yeah, there you go.
How were the nerves? Kind of going up against, there were some legends around you, let's be honest. Did it affect you at all, or were you just kind of singularly focused and it didn't bother you?
No, I was really happy to be there. I was really enjoying myself. Nerves weren't really there at all. I was anticipating they would be, but no, I was pretty calm, pretty collected. I'm not good at putting on a face. It's not genuine. So the emotions that you see when the video comes out are pretty accurate. And yeah, I was, for whatever reason, nerves they were pretty much zero the whole time. The exception could have been the Flintstone lift, but even then, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere near butterflies or anything like that, which is, like, for me, that's pretty shocking.
Interesting, because to all of us, you seem like calm, cool, and collected.
During the Flintstone, you mean?
Even talking to you now, like I don't see you as a person who would ever have butterflies.
Yeah. Well, look, I suppose when I think about days when I golfed competitively, I'd be so nervous. So I couldn't prepare for anything but the first tee shot because I was so nervous about it. Same thing, American football. I'd be a wreck. I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I think you evolve quite a bit as a person as you get older. And I wasn't great keeping my emotions in check in my mid to late teens and early 20s, even, as most people that age can't really keep their emotions in check. I think it's a learned skill over time, and I'm happy to say that in a competition setting, I think I've mastered it as best I can.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So Isaac, why don't you go ahead and wrap it up as you would like? I know we've taken up about as much of Mitch's time as we planned for, and go ahead, wrap it up in the way that only you can.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure, man. I had just a couple more questions. So have you watched the Shaw Classic before?
No.
Or okay, because I know, talking to other guys that have competed there, they've said that it's one of the most fun and exciting shows that they've done, but also one of the most difficult. I mean, partly because of the altitude, but partly just because Brian likes to pick these insanely difficult events. So yeah, I'm super stoked to watch you through the rest of this year. I know John and I will both be following you and watching all your competitions. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and yeah, go and get some sleep.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
buddy.
no problem. All right, Mitch. Yeah, you have a good night. And for
Take
everyone
care.
watching this, you have a good one as well.
Ciao, homie.